What I'm going to share with you today quite literally can and will change everything for you if it clickety click clicks in for you. Okay. So we know the quote, faith of a mustard seed, right? The Bible quote that talks about having the faith of a mustard seed. I'm going to read the exact quote for you, but this quote has always stood out to me. You know what I mean? Like, when you read something or you hear something and you can just feel it. I could always feel the truth of this quote. Let's read it, and then I'm going to dive into the breakdown. I tell you the truth, if your faith is as big as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. All things will be possible for you. Okay. So we feel it, right? We're like, faith. Oh, okay. Faith of a mustard seed. Like, that's nothing. I got that, right? However, it can feel a little bit like willpower, right? Faith can feel a little bit like willpower. Like, all right, God, like I'm feeling it. I'm having faith. Where is it? I don't see it yet. I don't see it yet. Okay, I've got to have more faith. Okay, I've got to have more faith. And willpower, as I have taught for years and years and years, is exhausting. Okay. Willpower ain't the answer for really anything. Willpower is like when we got to get up early in the morning, we didn't get enough sleep the night before, and the alarm clock goes off, and we get up instead of hitting snooze. Willpower is for those 1 second movements. It's that, like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to jump, I'm going to go for it. That's where willpower lives. But willpower for a long, extended period of time is a one-way ticket to failure. It's just not going to happen. So, in all my years of coaching and teaching, whenever I've had a client come to me trying to willpower their way to their dreams, I'm like, no, we're not. That's not how we're going to do this because that's just going to send you straight into burnout. So, what we always want to look at is the undercurrent. What is the underneath of what I am believing? Praise and hallelujahs, because that's where you're going to find what you're working with or what you're working against. So, the very baseline of faith is that you are believing in what it is that you're moving forward towards or what it is that you're wanting to create, right? So, whenever we're in experience of willpower around faith, there is something underneath that is like, that's not, It's like you're working against a current or a force, right? So, when faith starts feeling like willpower and you're like, I have faith it can work. But then you're waiting on evidence, you're constantly measuring to see if it's worked yet. It can feel a little exhausting. So the other night, this just clicked for me. I mean, it just clicked in. The pieces came together, all of it made sense. So I've been teaching for years. All it takes to create anything is one step and then the next, just intention and consistency. This is why every client that I've had come to me with a huge dream, we say, yes, of course you can do that. Because if it's a desire that's planted on your heart, if it lights your soul and it makes you excited, there is a pathway to it. And the way that we create that into manifested reality is taking one step and then the next step. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. You just got to move towards it because something takes over and fills in the gaps. And you can probably see where I'm going with this. I had a moment where I thought, oh my holy goodness, faith is not just a thought, a feeling. Faith is a verb. Faith is action. It gives me goosebumps right now. Faith is action. Having faith isn't just feeling and believing and saying, okay, God, I have faith. It's moving. It's taking action towards what you want. That is what actually moves the mountains. Faith is a verb. You can think it, you can dream it, you can want it. But until you are actively moving, taking action towards it, you don't have faith in it. I mean, doesn't that just, and it does not take much. Okay, I'm going to give you some stories and examples of every time I have done this in my life and how I knew exactly how things were worked. I knew exactly how to create things. But when this clicked for me that this is what faith actually is, oh, the whole big picture just came into play. Now, I want to give you a little side note here because we're talking about creating your dream into reality, having faith that something can work, that it is for you. There is a very big difference between what I call the joyful desire and the wounded want. Now, this is a concept that I really break down and teach how to heal and move through inside the spiritual coach training program. But I'm going to give you the Cliffs Notes right here, right now. A joyful desire is that pull on your heart. That's your call. It's like when you think about doing it, when you think about it being your experience of life, your whole body is like, oh, that would be so incredible. Like it is your whole soul rejoicing at the thought of it, right? It's a very distinct feeling. Versus, so that's joyful desire, versus the wounded want. Now, the wounded want, we've all got it. All right. No shame in the game. The wounded want is the thing that you want to have because you think that in having it, you will be more valid, more worthy, feel like enough, all of those lack-oriented terms. Do we feel it? So, a joyful desire is a call on your heart. It's the thing that's pulling you forward. It's the blueprint, the vision, like we talked about in the last podcast. It is your higher timeline calling. This is the best way you could do life. Versus a wounded want is the thing that you think would make you worthy in the having of it, right? So, a lot of times, um, this shows up in a lot of different ways. So it could be if you finally met that partner, you know what I mean? Like that, you're forever human and you're like, oh, I would just feel so worthy if I had that. Or it's, money, $1 million, multi-million dollars. If I had this, then I would feel valid. Do we see what we're saying here? Now, here's the thing. The wounded want is actually a joyful desire in disguise. It truly, truly is, but it has a wound in front of it. It has something in it that is requiring your healing. There's something there that you've got to look at before that joyful desire can really come into play. Because let's be real, like to want a beautiful relationship and an amazing partner, that's amazing. That's beautiful. That's great, right? But if I am measuring my worth and validation through it, now we found the wound, right? Or to want $1 million, especially if you're a good person, like think about everything you could do if you had an unlimited amount of money, unlimited resources. Like that's a good thing unless you're measuring your worth and validation through it. Do you see what we're saying here? So the wounded want has an element of healing that comes with it. So that's the Cliffs Notes version of that. We can do a totally separate podcast on that if you are interested in knowing more. But again, it is broken down in the spiritual coach training program where I teach you how to not only heal it for yourself, but to help your clients move through that as well. So faith is a verb. It's an action. And all it takes to create anything is one step and then the next step. So I'm going to give you some stories here. When I had just graduated college, I got a job managing a restaurant. Listen, if you're in the hospitality industry and you love it, all the power to you. But I'm going to tell you right now, it is some work for not a lot of glory. Amen. Like you're not getting paid a whole lot, you're not getting appreciated a whole lot. But this is the job that I had. And in truth, I was excited to have a job out of college. So I was working this job for about a year. And then I just was like, this ain't it. I've got to move forward. I've got to move on. What do I actually want to do? And so ever since I was a little kid, I was always interested in fashion merchandising, clothes, as a lot of girls are. But I love the creativity side of it. For a time, I wanted to be a designer because I've got a little artsy vibe to me. And I was like, I think that's what I want to do. I want to work in fashion. And I thought, okay, what can I do that is available to me now that moves me towards that? Now, mind you, I did not have a degree in fashion merchandising. I had a degree in marketing, which, by the way, for anybody out there who maybe has children going into college, or if you're thinking about going back to school, marketing is a fantastic degree for business because you can go into any industry with that. Anywho, so I didn't have a fashion merchandising degree. I didn't have an art degree. And so I was like, okay, so what do I want to do? I'm saying here I want to work in fashion. I need to get clear on what jobs are even available. So I started doing some research. I started looking at, okay, what would I want to do? If this was possible, this is an amazing question to ask yourself. If this was possible, what then would I want to do? What would it look like? What would it feel like? What would be the pathway? So I started doing research on the types of jobs that I could even do in fashion merchandising. And I landed on the job of a buyer. Now, my retail people, you know exactly what this is. But for those of you who are outside the industry, a buyer is the person who chooses and decides what designs of clothing are going to go into the department store. So you get your own little section of the store and you decide what's going to be displayed for availability for people and customers to buy. Now, of course, you have to take into account what people want, right? It's not just like free creative will here. But I landed on buyer and I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And I thought, okay, I have no experience in this whatsoever. So how am I going to do this? And I started to play with all the different options of what could be. Meaning, I was like, okay, so I have the option in front of me of like, well, maybe I could go back to school and get a fashion merchandising degree. And it's like, well, but that kind of takes a really long time. That takes more money. I already have student loans. Like, this is maybe not the best pathway. And so I had to get creative with what I had available to me that felt like it was moving me forward towards what I want. So I'm going to just break this down, recap it. I was done with the path that I was on. I was not going to pursue a lifelong career of managing a restaurant. I knew that going in, but I made the decision. It's time. I'm done. And I'll tell you this right now. When it's time to move on, you receive that intuition in stages. Meaning, at first, you're going to have a feeling. Step one, not even step one. Phase one. Phase one, you're going to get an intuitive nudge. You're going to just start to feel, I think it's time to move on. I think that this is ending. It's time for me to step into something new. Okay. It's gentle, it's beautiful, it's constant. You will feel it all the time. I can't tell you the number of times that this happened for me in relationships. Like I would get the nudge of like, this one's over. You need to move forward. And if you've ever experienced that, you know it's constant. It's you just know it. You know it in your knower, like you know it. It's done. You need to move on. It's very gentle, intuitive nudge, right? Because the universe is kind. It's going to give you the little tiny nudges before it starts to really close in on you. If you don't listen at the intuitive nudge level of moving on and moving forward, the next phase of what you're going to experience is an emotional nudge. This is where you start getting really frustrated pretty often. This is where you start feeling upset more often than not, frustrated, sad. Um, those are pretty much it. Mad, angry, you start to feel the emotionality coming into play here. It's like everything irritates you. You get frustrated with the situation that you're in. You're dreading going to your job, whatever it is. If you still do not take action, we're seeing that this is a podcast about action. If you still do not take action to move towards what you want, to move out of this old timeline, this old chapter, your third phase is going to be very dramatic. It is going to be a physical thing that manifests and forces you to move forward. Now, needless to say, we don't want to get to this level because this looks like getting fired, a severe medical something happening, like getting into a car wreck, developing some sort of disease or sickness, like a forced movement. Okay. Now, I want to say in all of this, like, spiritually, energetically, at the higher self level, the soul level, these things are not necessarily considered bad. Like, yes, they're full of pain and suffering, but we have choices. We have free will. And the most important thing from spirit's point of view is that you are on time and on track with your life. And everything in your life has a timeline, meaning every job that you have ever worked, it had a timeline. Every relationship that you've ever had a timeline. And when it's time to move on, that's when you start getting the nudge. That's when you start getting the emotional if you don't listen to the nudge. And then eventually, God, universe, spirit is going to force you onto the new path. Now, the reason for it is that there are people waiting for you. There are circumstances that are already aligned. There are things that are already set up. There are people who need to meet you, who you need to meet for everyone's soul contract to be fulfilled. Do we feel that? So, ideally, you're moving forward at the intuitive nudge level, okay? And this podcast is really going to show you how you can do it so, so easily. Because why do we not move forward? Like, what is the number one reason that we don't move forward? Fear. We're afraid that where we're going is not going to meet our needs as where we are has. We're usually afraid, but what if I don't make as much money as I did here? Or what if I don't find someone better than this person? Or what if I don't like that house, city, state, country as much as I liked this one? What if I don't have everything I need? It's based in lack. So, when we start to really understand how all of this works, we can start to move forward and live that smooth flow of life rather than being forcefully pushed and potentially experiencing pain and suffering. Okay, so back to the story. So I was in this place in my job where I was like, I'm done. I am not staying here anymore. Mind you, I had had the intuitive nudge. I reached the emotional level. Okay. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Most of the time, that's where you're going to get it. It really, really is. It takes a high level of self-awareness to be moving at the intuitive nudge level. Usually we get to the emotional level before we move because that's when we start experiencing pain. And humans are programmed to move when we feel discomfort or pain, typically. We usually don't move towards what feels good as much as we move away from what feels bad. So I was at that level. And I just didn't really have a whole lot of choice in front of me. At least it didn't seem that way. So I landed on the idea that I'm going to be a buyer. I can do that. Why not? I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the education, but I thought I will see what I can do. Now, it wasn't available for me to go back to school, right? I was living on my own. I had my own apartment, full-time job, was not really available for me to go back to school. I could have forced it into place, but it wasn't the most ideal way. So I'm going to tell you what I did. And this is what I'm saying when faith of a mustard seed. It does not take much for things to move into place, but you got to do your part. I went to a used bookstore and I bought a textbook. I bought a textbook from the Fashion Institute of New York. Bought this textbook and said, I'm going to teach myself fashion merchandising. So I bought this textbook and I came home and I started doing my thing. It was a matter of weeks, not months, not years, weeks of me starting to study fashion merchandising and just doing what I could with what I had. My mom suggested, hey, we know this family friend who has worked at this department store as a manager for decades. Why don't you just go to lunch with him and just ask him some questions, sort of pick his brain of like, how do you get into this? Now, I'm going to tell you, I mean, not a teenager, I was in my 20s, but I had resistance to doing that. I was like, no, that feels weird. Like, I don't want to do that, blah, 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 right? Ego getting in the way, trying to sabotage the new path. But I agreed because she insisted. And I did. At this lunch, I asked him all my questions. He gave me two contacts. gave me the contact of a current store manager of a department store that was in our area, and he gave me a recruiter's email. I went home and I emailed both of these people. Emailed, did my resume, all the things, emailed, said, hey, this is what I'm interested in doing. Do you have any available positions? Like I did my part, right? The store manager emailed me back first, and I ended up having an interview with him. He and I just hit it off, like just really great rapport, and it felt good and it was exciting. It wasn't the exact job I wanted, but it was movement in the direction of what I wanted. And that is another part of this that my husband and I now we always talk about. You have to be willing. You can't shut off all pathways except for the one that you think it's going to be. Like you've got to be willing. And so my thought was, you know what? It's not exactly what I want, but fine. It's closer to what I want. And I can work at the restaurant that I used to work at, like serving or whatever, to like make up for the money if I needed to. So I said to him, yes, yes, I will do it. And then I was feeling good, right? Because here's the thing about taking action towards what you want, it has a momentum to it, it has an energy to it. Suddenly, you're not feeling hopeless and lost anymore. Suddenly, you're not feeling like you're at the dead end. You're feeling that open energy start to flow. So, I got this job, and the job was working at the store. Not what I wanted to do, but who cares? It was in the direction of what I wanted. Okay. So, I got the job. I had to put in a notice, obviously, at my current job. And as I put that notice in at the current job, took action towards what I wanted. Within that same week, the recruiter emailed me back and she said, I have a position in the buyer's office at the corporation of this department store, same department store. I got that email and I cried, like literally cried. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. So I said, yes. Set up the interview for this corporation job that is literally in the office of exactly what I wanted to do. Exactly what I wanted to do. Right before I went on the interview, and this is just a little tip for anybody that's doing a job interview, I always prayed. So before any interview I've ever done, I've always prayed that me and the interviewer find our connection. Whatever it is that links us, whatever it is that like ties us together, we find that connection. So I interview, next day, recruiter calls. She says, they chose you. Can you move here in 2 weeks? What? She called me at 7 in the morning, by the way, I was still in bed. But I tried to sound like I was awake. And she told me I got the job. And I was like, oh my God. Cried. Can you move here in 2 weeks? Yes. Yes, I can. It was in a different state, by the way. But the point of all of that story is the action I took was what was available to me with what I had. And everything moved. The mountain moved. Do you know the amount of obstacle that I could have made up in my mind about what it was going to take for me to get that job? About what I was going to have to do? It was available for me to create a sufferable, hard path. Amen. But I said, I'm just going to do what I can with what I got, and God's got the rest. Do you feel the detachment in that? Do you feel the surrender? It's like, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do what I know to do. And then I'm giving the rest of it to God because there's so much in that that I don't control. I don't have the power to line up this person to that person to say yes to me to do all it. I don't have that power. I can't make the job position come open. You do what you can with what you've got, and God's got the rest. One of my favorite phrases in the entire world is God will do everything you cannot and nothing that you can. So we have to do our part. This is that co-creation energy. Faith is a verb, it's an action. So if I'm not moving towards what I want, I'm not taking active action towards what I want, I'm not moving in faith. Do we feel it? Now, I did it again when I started my business. When I started this business, I did what I could with what I had. When I first started showing up online, I had no idea what I was doing. Like not a single iota of like how do you run a business online? I had started listening to some people who were talking about what to do and how to do it and all of that. And I didn't have a website. I didn't have a social media following. I didn't have even business knowledge of exactly how to run a business. But what I did know was energetics, manifestation, how things are created, how to work with your mindset, how to move to make your life better. I did know that because I had done it. And so, what I did when I first started this business was I just started showing up and talking, telling the stories, telling the things that I knew. And I remember that there was a girl I worked with at that current corporate job who said to me, "But how are you going to make money at this?" And I was like, "Oh, I have no idea." But when it's time to make money, I'll know what to do. And that's exactly what happened. So I didn't go, I'm going to point this out to you. I didn't go and quit my job and then start my business. I didn't take that leap, not knowing what to do, not knowing how I was going to make money, not knowing what I was doing, and then saying faith will carry me there. That's not what I did. I did what I could with what I had, and it created and amplified everything that I did not have control over, and it moved me from where I was to where I wanted to be. So when you make a decision, mind, body, soul, like faith in what it is that you want for your life, in what it is that you're deciding to do, and you surrender the outcome, you surrender the rest, knowing that God, angels, universe has got your back, knowing that it's going to work out one way or the other, that is what moves mountains. And I'm telling you, hear me on this, the smallest faith of a mustard seed, the smallest action in the direction of what you want moves mountains, absolute mountains. Faith is always in abundance. So it's going to look something like, okay, what is available to me right now that I can do that I have right in front of me that feels good and it feels like my dream? It feels like what I want to do. That's your next step. God does not put us over the edge without a safety net. Do you feel me? Like God says, no, like your next step is going to be start to do this one little thing that's right here and is completely safe and you can do it right here, right now. Now it might stretch you. It might put you in your like out of your comfort zone. An example, when I started showing up online, speaking live, like, yeah, that was outside of my comfort zone. But it didn't put me in scarcity. It didn't put me in lack. It was something I had available to me right now that I could start doing that looked like, felt like what I wanted to be doing in the long run. Do we feel it? So faith is never going to have you take risks outside of what's available to you. It's always going to be right here, right now. And again, mustard seed. We're talking mustard seed action moves mountains. Mustard seed action moves mountains. So you got to look at what is it that I have available to me right here, right now? What do I want? What am I craving? Like, what am I wanting to create with my life? What am I wanting to feel, experience, have? Because all of those joyful desires are meant for you and they're going to require you to move. Take action towards what it is that you want, and mountains will be moved in your favor. God will do everything you cannot. Hear that? God will do everything that's out of your control, everything, but nothing that is within your control. So, what that means is like in terms of business, because it's all my career girls, this is what our life is. When it comes to business, God can't make your website, right? We've talked about this before. God could not show up for me on live video teaching and speaking to people. God cannot make my Instagram post. God cannot record the podcast for me. That's my part. But God is going to go and find the people to listen to it. God is going to move this to that, to this to that, to have this exact thing put right in front of the person who needs it. I can't do that, but God can do that. Do we see? So you got to do your part. That's true faith. Faith of a mustard seed is you doing your part, taking action towards what it is that you want to create in this life, and God will do the absolute rest. So, what is your mustard seed action that you're going to go take that's available to you right here, right now? You can get out a piece of paper. You can write down what is the thing that's on your heart that you want more than anything. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is available to me right now that I can go do today towards that thing? And watch if absolute miracles do not unfold. I love you guys so much. I hope this moves you. If you want to come into my world, you know where to find me. All of the information is down below in the show notes. You can check out the latest program. The Spiritual Coach Training Program will be opening soon for enrollment. This is my 6-month in-depth training on becoming a spiritual transformation coach. Absolutely one of the most incredible programs that I have to offer, and it is deeply immersive. We work together in Zoom for a full 6 months. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, my loves.